Hey everybody, welcome to another CyberSec Tuesday. My name is Sean, aka Sinek. I wanted to thank everybody for spending their evening here with us tonight. Before we get started, just going to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, ArcLight6 Consulting. They focus on engineering and consulting related to cybersecurity, networking, and software engineering. So if you're interested in checking them out, you can go over to their website at arclight6.com. Tonight, we're going to be discussing, let me fix that. Get this thing to be full screen. There we go. Tonight, we're going to be discussing FIDO2 security keys on Linux. The deck that you're seeing right now, that is from a previous talk I did, so I'm going to kind of reuse a little bit of that, and then I'm going to jump into an actual workshop. This talk is going to focus on a couple different things. It's going to focus on using a hardware security key. Typically, in the case, it's going to be a YubiKey. That's probably the best thing to use for tonight's demo. But theoretically, any FIDO2 compliant key should work. So whether that's a YubiKey, only key, nitro key, solo key, and the many other ones out there, you should be able to get away with using those. So with tonight's talk, we are going to look at a couple different areas. It's going to be using your security key to unlock your encrypted Linux desktop or even server. Mostly what I'll be showing can be used on either the desktop or the server. Also, how to use a second factor for logging into your system beyond just the password. And that will also be used for sudo as well too. Lastly, we'll get into how to use FIDO2 for SSH keys and storing the private key on your FIDO2 key so it never ends up on the machine itself. It's securely on your hardware security key. So I'll jump into this. Go through this. So what is or just for everybody that's maybe new to this whole thing, what is a hardware security key? Like I mentioned, one of the most popular ones out there is the YubiKey. And this is kind of an example of all the different things that you could use it for. This is just kind of very high level. So the whole goal is having this key that you have physically on you, and you would typically use this as a second factor, but there is another technology that's built into these newer keys that's part of the FIDO2 standard called pass keys, which will allow you to actually go into doing a system called passwordless, where with the key itself, you don't use a password to log into certain websites or devices. You will unlock the device with a pen. So instead of a password, you use a pen, and then you would physically touch the device, and that would grant you access. So a lot of sites these days are actually working with passkeys. Everything from password managers to popular websites like Google, Facebook, you name it, GitHub, they're using it these days. I'm not going to really get too much into passkeys, so we're going to mostly just focus on FIDO2 specifically, but some of this kind of goes hand in hand. I will admit I'm not a passkey, hardware security key, FIDO2 expert, so I won't probably be able to answer any sophisticated questions, but I'll try my best. And if not, I'll try to answer them after the talk today. And just a reminder, today we are recording the talk. It will be on YouTube, and it's currently being live streamed right now. So looking at these security keys, beyond just FIDO and FIDO2, you typically will have OpenPGP, TOTP options, smart card options, and additional things like HOTP, challenge response, and sometimes you can even store passwords in these things to like auto type. So I'm going to skip over here to FIDO2. This gives you a little bit of a high level of kind of like how it works. In short, just for you to kind of think of, FIDO2 uses asymmetric cryptography, where it stores a private key on the device itself, and it will share out a public key to the third-party device that it's authenticating with. At no time will anybody will be able to access the private key on that device. I'll specifically talk on a YubiKey, for example. That's stored on the device itself. The device, most of these devices are hardware tamper resistant, and they prevent things like side channel attacks, um, different types of like techniques for like shorting the chip to cause it to freak out and dump different parts of the secrets on there, as well as other different types of tampering. So, um, with the if you have a FIDO2 compliant key, um, typically if you want to leverage things like pass keys or some of the more advanced options, you do need to set a pin on the key, and I'll go into how to do that as well. There are different ways you can do it easily. You can actually use Chrome. Chrome has a built-in way to do that. I'll see if I can demo that. I'm going to actually jump into the demo and kind of go from here. So it looks like everybody can still see my screen. So in this demo, we have Ubuntu 22.04, and it's just right now I have it running in a VM on my system. You can do this on a hardware system or VM. Part of this demo, I'll talk about where the VM doesn't really work out 100% for the demo, and I'll go into that a little bit, but most things can be done within here. Before I get started, does anybody have any questions at all? All right. So let me get started. So I am going to hopefully get this thing all set up. And I might have to reboot this because I did some of this last minute. Bear with me. See if I can get my security key to show up here. It's probably not. So give me 1 second.
So I'm just like kind of curious about why you're using like 2204. Like, isn't 2404 like generally regarded as safe?
Uh, yeah, I just did 22 on up because I know a lot of people are still running 2204. So a lot of people aren't running the latest. And I think it's 2204 is the LTS, so it is still supported today.
Oh yeah, yeah, it still has the updates. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So give me 1 second. My key, the problem with this whole thing is getting the darn keys to show up on the VM. So this is one thing I did forget to set up. So 1 second. I think I have it here. So if you're on, this is actually good for you guys to know. So if you guys are running VMware, and I don't know how it is if you're using VirtualBox or other systems, to get certain types of FIDO keys, whether a YubiKey or only key or whatever you're using to show up in the VM, typically you will go up here to VM and you'll have removable devices, and you'll have the device that you would want to share off here. This example, I am going to be using a only key, but it's not showing up here. So what I have to do is edit some files. So let me shut this down real quick. And then the thing you have to do, I'm going to open this on the side and bring it onto the main screen here, is that you do have to edit the VMware VMX file. I believe that's what it's called. So let me pull that up real quick. And usually your VMware files are typically under the home directory, VMware, and then it's going to be yeah, in that directory. And then I'm pulling this up real quick. So okay. So here's the file here with all my settings. So I am going to copy and paste in these two lines. from the docs, and I can share them out as well. So give me a second. I'll put this in the Meetup text channel so you guys are aware. So I put in these 2 lines here, and I'm going to hit save. Make sure my only key is on and unlocked. Okay, start that up. And this system I did encrypt this with Lux encryption. Lux is one of the default encryption mechanisms that's built into Ubuntu and a lot of other Debian and Fedora-based systems. So when you first log in, by default, it's going to be a passphrase setup. Like that. So this will decrypt the drive itself. And then once we get past the screen, we'll have our normal login.
I always have like a mini panic attack when I'm watching that screen because I'm like, did I forget it? Because mine aren't written down anywhere. I'm just like, if it goes out of my head, it's gone. So that's like why I'm interested in having a physical key instead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
why
so far I haven't been able to break anything from this testing, so it's I won't say I'd say one disclaimer is always test this stuff like on a VM of your system beforehand. So like my daily driver is typically Pop OS, so if I was going to do this on my personal system, I would do this on Pop OS beforehand. Make sure it works, and then then I'm like okay, and then make sure I have a backup, which is really important, and then from there go and attempt it.
Yeah, so that's a good thing for like only key because you can use it to type the Lux passphrase and have it be super long, and then you never have to really remember it.
Yep, and this what we'll be doing today, we'll be showing you how to avoid the password altogether. So here you go, you see right here I have my only key showing up now. So I'm gonna connect it, and then gonna hit this. Is just what it's saying is it's gonna disconnect it from my host system and show it up on the system here. So I am, and then so what we'll work on first is we're gonna look at adding in setting up your FIDO key to unlock your Lux system. Right now with this setup, it's going to be not replacing, but having the primary means of logging in with your FIDO2 key. You can fall back on a passphrase as well too. Ideally, you have a long passphrase that you don't remember. You got it stored somewhere offline. So your day-to-day, you would just log in with your FIDO2 key. So with the FIDO2 key, let me go in here and open up the terminal. And then let me pull up my docs on this real quick. I'll share out the link so you guys can follow along. So this was kind of a pain, especially with the newer versions of Ubuntu. I had to make sure I had a version of systemd that was 248 and above, I believe it was. There was this FIDO2 features relatively new. You'd probably get it probably came out way before on like Fedora, but Ubuntu and Debian sometimes typically behind. So some of these features are kind of new on that, and the documentation I had was not very good. But I did find this guide that will follow along, put it in the Meetup text channel, and this is pretty handy. One of the things you want to do is you want to download a tool using your apt-get. Install FIDO2 tools. I believe that's it. Okay, so let's. All right, and then so then now that's installed, I'm gonna type in FIDO2 token -L. That will list all connected FIDO2 devices. You can see here I have my only key here. If you haven't set a password or a PIN on your on your security key, which is not set by default, but if you want to be able to use what I'm going to show you today using a feature of the FIDO standard called resident keys, where you're actually storing keys locally on the system. You do need to enable the PIN. It won't work without that. And the PIN is a physical safeguard in case you ever lost your device to if somebody gets a hold of your YubiKey or whatnot, that they can't get access to your keys that are stored on there unless you put in that PIN first. And after, I think, there's several attempts, it will lock itself out and completely, I believe it completely wipes itself out. And then once you set a PIN, you can also change it as well too. So to set a PIN, all you do is come over here. We're going to copy this device ID here, the device path, and we're going to do FIDO2 token -s. And then I don't know why my system's slow, but I'm going to put in the device. And then right here, you'll enter the PIN for your device. So if you do this, just be sure to save this somewhere. You'll be asked to put it in twice. I'm not going to modify mine right now, so I'm not going to do this, but just a heads up. Okay. So what we need to do now is we need to find the device that we are going to be adding. We're looking for the Lux encrypted drive that we're going to be enabling the FIDO2 support on. So we're going to type in LSBLK for listing block devices. And you see these are the devices that are currently mounted on my system right now. And I have this SDA, which is my main hard drive. The drive where my SDA4 crypt is on, this is my encrypted LVM partition system thing, is under SDA4. So that's what we want to remember for this. You can also verify by typing in this sudo crypt setup luxdub / the path to the drive or partition, so SDA4, and this will show you the current settings on here, and you can see like how it's encrypted. And then right now we don't have any tokens on here, so when we put one on there, the one will show up. So what we'll do now is we're going to enroll our FIDO2 key. So what we'll do here is run a sudo systemd, and by the way, this is like systemd crypt enroll. These commands are already pre-installed on the system, so you shouldn't need to download any of these. So crypt roll, and then what we'll do is put in the path. So dev SDA4, and then we're going to do -- FIDO2 device auto. So yep, that's it. And now it's going to ask us, it should ask us for our sudo password first. Or actually, no, it's going to ask us for the passphrase to unlock the disk. So this is, put that in. And then from there, it's going to ask us for our FIDO2 PIN that we either just set or we set prior to this. So I'm going to put that in as well. Okay, and typically around this, once you put the PIN in, you're going to see your device probably flash. You're going to want to press it, and then you may have to press it again, and you should get this confirmation: new FIDO2 token enrolled in key slot 1. So now, if we go back and dump the information on that drive, you'll see under tokens, this systemd FIDO2 is in key slot 1. That means you successfully added your key. If you wanted to go add additional keys, you can follow the same. You can unplug this hardware key, plug in a new one, and then run the same command, and it's going to add it into an additional slot. Any questions at all? All right, so I'll move forward. So this part, just full disclaimer, right now, if you rebooted your system won't be affected by this just yet. Just to let you guys know, I could not for the life of me get this Lux unlock with the FIDO2 key to work with a VM, but I did get it to work like on bare metal hardware. And I do have a video showing you how to do that. So I won't be able to like show you how the unlock process goes in. And if any of you guys figure out how to do this like after the fact, please let me know, because I would love to be able to just do this from the VM 100%. But I couldn't. It just wasn't working. And I'll show you what I run into. But do bear in mind this does work in if you're running this on a bare metal system like a laptop or server or whatnot. I think it has something to do with the drivers and the USB kind of like attachment to the system during the boot. And I think the drivers aren't loaded by then. That's just kind of a theory. I haven't confirmed or denied that. So, but yeah. All right. So
I mean, that answers a question I had earlier about like, doesn't this sound like a really bad idea? Like if you're running it through a VM pass through, like couldn't somebody from the host system like intercept your keys? And it sounds like you might be running into some kind of protection against that. I'm not really sure though.
yeah, I don't know. I think
Isn't the whole point of
the
this like you're using FIDO2 and it's like public-private key?
it is, yeah.
So like, what are they getting, right? Then
Well,
there's like nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be on the top. I don't know exactly why, but it's the case. Like I said, I think it has to do with drivers, but I'm not 100% sure. So, um, like I said, after the fact, if anybody wants to try to figure it out, or if I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. But what I'm going to show you, it does work. I can't show you how to unlock it from this screen, but I'll show you a video that I recorded of me with my camera in front of my laptop doing it. So it's not extremely exciting, but I'll show that in just a minute. So real quick, so the next part is we actually need to get your system to be able to boot up and know to use the FIDO2 key to unlock. If it can't find your FIDO2 key, don't worry. It will fail over to using your passphrase. So if you have the passphrase handy, like you won't be locked out. So there are multiple guides on the internet, and none of them worked for me except for one, which was the one I just shared out. There is a repo that has some of the script in there that actually helps us move along to the next part. So let me find that real quick. I don't know why I don't see the link in here. Oh, here it is right here. So I'll put a link here. So this is the repo FIDO2 Lux. And I'm going to pull this down here on this web browser. So, and it's all open source. You can review it. The main thing we want to focus on here is the script that's going to be on here. And this is what we'll do is we're going to stick we'll set this up to load this script on the system when it boots up to go and interact with the key and do the validation on the system. So what you do here is there is a release, and then I am going to download it. And then what you need to do is you need to have these tools installed. So we already got FIDO2 tools installed. We need JQ, and we need this init ramfs. And init ramfs and crypttab will be the main thing that we need to modify. The problem is, for whatever reason, without using another tool that kind of goes and modifies your boot completely, using a thing called what is it called? Drag cut. I'm not super. It's drag cut. DRACUT. That's another tool that you can potentially use to get this to work. But in this example, this is how I verified to get it to work. So let me just go in here and I'm going to set these up. So yeah, we need that. We need JQ. Get these installed. Just take a second. And then we do have the release installed here. And what this is actually doing is it is making some modifications. Okay, and then what we need to do is on a dpkg-i, actually I'm gonna put sudo in front of it, and then the path to the release dev we just downloaded. So that will install it. So now it's installed. You can confirm that it's installed by doing a let's see, it's going to be under user FIDO. Wait, no, where does it live? Oh, sorry, it's going to be
Just do dpkg dash uppercase L on the package name. It'll tell you all the paths like where it
oh,
installed.
is it?
Yeah, dpkg dash uppercase L, and then you want to just put in like FIDO2 Lux without all the other crap. That should work.
Hey, there you go. So yeah, this is the directory where this will live. And so we just confirmed that that's there. We can list that. We can see that, and this key script is actually the main thing we want. You could technically, I think, you can get away with just downloading the script itself and storing it somewhere and using that. But I'm sure that will work. But this is just the way I'm showing you guys how to do it. So from there, we need to go and sudo nano etc crypt tab. And then this is going to be the information where your encrypted drive is, the ID for the drive, and then this lux slash or comma discard are the options. We're going to add in another option here called key script, and then equals lib FIDO2 lux key script dot sh. And we're going to
You might
save
want to
that.
spell Lux without a C.
Oops, I messed that up. Good call. Oh yeah, very good call. I was gonna I was gonna cat it just to triple check too.
If for the record, I did test your nano editor. VI for life.
Yeah, VI is not installed. Well, I usually use Vim, but so we can just cat this, and then just gonna make sure that this does exist. Get the right path, which it does. Here we go. So, and then what we'll do lastly in here is we will update the init ramfs, which will affect the way the system boots. So do that. And this is updating the boot settings. So it will now use these new options when you go and boot the system.
I got a little helpful tip.
Yeah.
So basically, when you're jacking around with this, and you're doing this on VMs, do a snapshot of your VM before you do all this. That way, if it jacks it up, you can just restore back to that point in time and rinse repeat, my friend.
Yep. That's very good advice.
Stinak, real quick, I just went ahead and took a look at our lovely YouTube stream, and you have a emoji menu sitting right
Uh-oh.
on top of it.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Yep.
Always something getting in the way of my talks. All right.
Always.
So All right. So from there, what do we got here? So now we can do a reboot. Like I mentioned, if you do it on bare metal, it's going to work. It should work 100% of the time. On the VM, it may or may not. I haven't tried this with a FIDO key. I'm sure that it would work, but or sorry, not a FIDO key, a Yuba key. That might be better than the only key solution I had. I tried a couple different things, but I did verify it working on bare metal. But so what we'll do here is we'll run a reboot. So what will happen is the system will boot, and you'll get this. Looks like it's like booting forever thing. It'll just sit here. So for here, I'll see if it works. You can put in you can type in your PIN for your FIDO2 key. So I'll do that. And hit enter. And that's probably not going to do anything, like I said, because this probably won't work. But like I said, I'll show you in a video how you did it on the desktop. So let me just reboot here real quick. And I'm going to show you guys one more thing. So if we reboot this, so what you can do here is you can hit Control Tab, and you'll get to see what the system looks like here. So you can see it's actually working. And if I put in the PIN for my only key, you'll see that it's not finding it. And then what it does is it fails over to the passphrase. I think, like I said, I think it's because of I think it's something to do with the way the drivers initiate, and they're not initiated yet, is why this doesn't find my thing. And I think it's mostly just because of the VM. But if you type in the passphrase, it will unlock as normal. So just to show you guys this working, and this is something I got like last minute, but I'm glad I got it to work. Let me show you guys the video real quick.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So if you're running a script right there, right, and it's prompting you for that pin, but if you exit out of that or bombs or something, right, then it just gives you the passphrase thing, and then basically you only used your passphrase, right? So if you're interacting with that script, could you just Control C out of it and just defeat the whole fact that there's a FIDO2 second factor on there and just put in a passphrase?
Yeah. So you can just hit enter, or I think it times out after a second. It will show up an actual box here. So give it a second.
Because it really should be both together, right? Passphrase and second factor.
No. This example is just the FIDO key, like I mentioned from the beginning. I believe you can set it up as a second factor for unlocking Lux, but I haven't tried it myself. This example is how to just use the FIDO key to unlock.
Oh, so it's like a hardware token password substitute, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Passphrase substitute. Okay.
So the way this is working currently is Lux has up to like 5, I think, different key slots for each volume that it's encrypting. And so you're adding your FIDO key as an alternative to your password when you set that up. So if you don't want the password to be able to unlock it anymore, or the passphrase, or you can just remove that. I wouldn't recommend it because I don't know, sometimes keys break. But like, yeah, I'm not currently aware of a way that Crypt Setup has, or VG Crypt has to combine both a passphrase and a FIDO2 key. I think the pass key to the FIDO2 key is what you're looking for there.
Well, it's like you can always just swipe to unlock your phone, or just use your thumbprint, because then a cop can just grab your hand and unlock your phone, right? It's like they're not getting you to incriminate
Yeah,
yourself.
that's
Yeah,
actually
so
kind
that's
of
great.
it's not really a settled matter of law yet. whether entering a pass key in your phone, or sorry, a pass, if you're typing it into a number pad, it's different legally than if you're just using your thumbprint, but a judge in California reversed that recently, so I think there's a circuit split right now. It's an open matter of law. It's kind of interesting,
So
actually.
The
you're
world would split.
assuming this will take place in the United States.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, the world would split in half if basically, you know, they could just force you to reveal a password, right? Or like a PIN code, because that's literally what you know, and that's like a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights
Yeah, I
against
mean, the
self-incrimination.
assumption is, I think a lot of us are from the US, but yeah, that is absolutely an assumption, yeah.
Yeah, so
If you guys
that's
don't
never
mind,
gonna fly.
I'm gonna move forward just so we're a little limited on time. Sorry
Yep.
about that. So I just real quick, just for the demo, just you don't have to do this. I just removed the settings I just put on so I can demo this without running into that thing. I am going to show you guys real quick a little video. It's not very exciting, but it's me doing this on one of my System 76 laptops, and it working. So here I rebooted the system. It's spinning. You can't really see it, but I'm typing in the pin. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm pressing the button on my FIDO2 key. And give it a second because I think I forgot I think you have to hit enter. It doesn't usually take this long, but I was kind of like not knowing what I was doing because I just literally did this like 5 minutes before I jumped on the call. So it should. Oh yeah, there's me actually doing it the right way. I think this time. So there it goes. So now it's decrypting it with the FIDO key, and then we're at the screen. So that's what it should look like if it works. Like I said, and it was super easy to do on my laptop. So thank
Does it
you.
prompt you?
It isn't prompt you now, which is kind of interesting. It just will spin there. It'll spin, and then you put in your PIN. You push the button on your FIDO key, and then you hit enter, and then it should just go straight in. And then after it times out, and then you can put the passphrase in, or like I mentioned, if you hit Alt Tab, you can get back to that loading screen, and then you can actually you can just put in your passphrase there too.
I see. Thanks.
And one thing, like if you could actually get this thing to function with like passphrase plus your second factor, hardware factor, whatever FIDO2 key in it, like as an and, not an or. And you're like, oh well, why would I ever want to do that? Because like I could just lose my hardware token and I'm screwed. Well, that's the same problem you have with like, I don't know, any online service like Facebook or Gmail, right? If you want, you should probably turn off SMS, right, as a second whatever step to log in, and then register and only, like only key I would suggest as a hardware second factor token. But get a second one and then register them both, and then take your second one and put it in a safe deposit box or something. So that way you never get unlocked. You never get locked out, right? Does that make
Yeah, I
sense?
think you can also get rid of if you get rid of the password, you can also use a recovery key, which is kind of similar to a password. So if you do this system decrypt enroll recovery key and then the drive, SDA4, and then put in the passphrase.
Yeah, so this will give you the keys that Lux actually uses to encrypt your data. And then, yeah, you can just go outside of the entire Lux thing, and that string of data will let you decrypt your stuff without any of the interlocks that you can add or remove with those. I don't know if it's still 5 slots. Back in the day it was, but yeah, that's your it's similar to two-factor auth where they make you write down a code. That's the actual encryption for the drive.
Yeah.
Can I ask about
Yeah.
slots?
Yeah.
Or do you have time for that? Is it slots the amount of keys that are registered with the device to produce the token? Or
Yeah,
like
that's
the amount of, is that the concept of slots?
Yeah, so the idea is that you can have different methods that you authenticate with the system that can decrypt the master key that is actually used to decrypt it. But yeah, so that's why you can add and remove these authentication options without actually re-encrypting the drive, because like you'd have to re-encrypt the entire drive, which would be, yeah, technically impossible to be honest, unless you had another drive the same size that you could copy it onto, decrypt it, and then copy it back. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and according to the internet, it looks like you can get up to 32 key slots by default, I think, but it says you can configure it higher. So,
Wow, nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah. So, yeah. All right. So that's Lux. That's how you decrypt it with the FIDO2 key. The next thing we'll jump into is how to use a FIDO2 key for logging into your system, as well as using it for sudo. And this will be an actual second factor option. This is also configurable, but this is just the way that I tested it, and you can configure it, I think, kind of any way you want. So for this guide, let me get you guys the link to this. I believe it was. Make sure I'm getting you guys the right one. Yeah, I think it was this one. So let me drop the link in here. So, and this is courtesy of YubiKey. Most of these FIDO2 tools that are installed on Linux or available on Linux are done by the YubiKey guys. They're kind of the group that's been pioneering the whole FIDO2, evolution. So, but yeah, we'll follow that. So now what we'll do is we're going to, let me just check. I want to make sure I am doing this right, because this does look a little bit different. Let me just make sure I got the right thing. Oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, you know what? Ignore what I just sent you guys. I'm going to update that because I'm like, well, this doesn't look like the right thing. This is the right one. So I just updated the link. This looks like the correct one. So, and this one's a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we got the terminal open here. I'm just going to clear this, and you can follow along in that guide. So I'm not going to go very slow, but we're going to set up the add the repository for Yubico on our system. And then what we'll do is install the libpam-u2f module, which is a Yubico module. Okay, so we're running that. And this is going to pretty much set up the PAM library. PAM is the privilege, privilege access module. I feel like I'm butchering that, but it's for managing your it's like your identity access management on the system itself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a directory called Yubico etc. Under the etc directory. We're going to create a credentials file. And then what we're going to do is we're going to register the device with the, let me get the starter device to actually turn on. All right, there we go. So we're going to make sure our FIDO2 key is set up, and what we're going to do is we're going to copy this, and we're going to modify the username to be your username. So I am Synac on here. You can also use the user variable as well, or you can just use your name. So I'm going to do that. And then this is enabling, pretty much adding the FIDO2 setting to your user for unlocking PAM. And PAM will be used for unlocking the system when after you boot up, after the Lux credentials are put in, as well as for the sudo privilege as well. So it's asking for my PIN. This is going to be the PIN for my FIDO2 key, so I'm going to put that in. And it's going to flash on the key. I'm going to push it. And then here's my key here. I believe this is the public key that gets copied to the credentials file. So that is saved there. And from there, I am going to nano the common auth file, and we're going to add in this line. Here. And we're going to exit and save. And that's just tying the system to leverage the PAMU2F library for unlocking the system. And then what we need to do from there is to verify that it works. So what we'll do is, let's see, give me 1 second. We know we can cat the credentials file. Make sure the credentials in there. My public key is in there. Okay, and then now what we're going to do is we are going to sudo to my user. It should ask for the password, and it should ask for the FIDO2 key PIN. So unlock the key. Okay, and then it's going to ask me to touch to verify, and now I'm in. So that's the two-factor part. It's what you know, which is your password, and then what you have plus your PIN for the login. Like I said, this is very customizable. You can customize it so you don't need a password, and you can strictly leverage off your chip and PIN. You can also make it so it's definitely customizable. You can set it up so you have one way for sudo or sudo privileges, as well as for unlocking the system. So that I if anybody's interested, we can maybe talk about that later. I believe if we do a sudo-i, we should run into the same thing.
At some point, I might do a talk about the time that I tried to make a PAM module for face recognition. It did not go well.
Interesting, like a Windows Hello kind of thing.
I don't understand that reference, but it had a lot of false positives and a lot of false negatives, and I did not trust it for authentication. But that's because it was like 2014 era AI stuff. Not very good.
Yeah.
I like Microsoft, Bob.
So you see, I logged out, and I'm going to log in, put my password, and it should ask for my PIN and thing. So yeah, here's a PIN, and then press the thing. So you can see this is seamlessly set up. So that's completely configured, and there's really nothing else you need to do for that. You can also, in that documentation, you can see that there is ways to set up backup USB sticks or security keys. You can change the way it's enforced and have it be added for additional users. So maybe you have your regular user, but then you have an admin user. You can set up different things for that. So yeah, lots of different options there. So from there, the last thing I was going to show, and I know we're going a little over time, is how to use the FIDO2 standard for SSH. And this is for using, instead of using key files on your system, this will actually save the private key to your security key itself, your hardware security key. It will never leave the hardware security key. And then the great thing about it is you don't need to pass credentials around. Like you don't need to like pass public keys around, things like that. And you don't ever need to deal with managing a private key. It will always be on your hardware security module or hardware security key. So let's go into that. I think this is the documentation. Yeah. So this is another Yubico doc on how to do this. So this is what we're gonna follow along. I do have 2 systems that are up. Hopefully this one's still running. Yeah. So just so I can demo SSHing, I'm gonna SSH from one system to another. So let's just make sure that this one has a unique IP. All right, so it does, and then I need to make sure SSH is running on it. Oops. What is it? SSH. Oh crap! Let me figure out how to start this thing. Let's see, get that installed. This is a fresh install of Ubuntu. So going to install OpenSSH server, make sure that's started. All right, and then we should be able to status on it. Cool, so that is running. So from the system, this tab here is going to be our demo system, and this will be the system that we'll log in to. So what it will do is we'll just make sure we can SSH to that other system here. So let me just grab the IP. So it's going to be 192.168.26.130. Just copy that. And then what we'll do is we're just going to test it the old-fashioned way. Make sure I can get in there. So looks like it is activated. So what we need to do now is we actually got to set up the SSH key on our device. So what we'll do is I'm just going to switch devices real quick. Let's try this. Do you know that, like I mentioned, with FIDO2 and the use of it with a PIN, also sometimes known as passkeys, there are limited amount of slots on your device. YubiKey, I think there's a couple hundred. Only key, I think there's like 10 or 12. Nitro key, I think is going to be 100 pretty soon with a new update, new firmware update. So you can run out. There are commands where you can actually list to see which ones you have or how many you have available, and then you can actually clear out old ones. So just something to keep in mind. You know, it's storing these credentials on the physical device, and the physical device has a limited amount of space, memory that's on it. So it's just something to keep in mind. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to generate the SSH key. So we're going to run SSH key gen. Oops, I can type here, and then we're going to pick the key algorithm to use. We're going to do ED25519. That is, as of now, the most recommended. It's It's the fastest. It's roughly the most secure. But the thing that's going to get different than a normal SSH key is we're going to add in this thing called SK for security key on here. And this makes it, this actually is what allows it to be a security key, specific key. We're going to use -O for option, and we're going to type in resident. So, which is going to make this key a key that's going to be physically stored on the device itself, on the actual hardware security key, and not locally. We're going to do a -O for another option, and we're going to type in verify required. And that will allow the system to require you to actually physically touch the device when it's being requested. And then we'll add a comment. It could be whatever. I'm just going to call this test FIDO2, and enter. And then it's going to ask you for a pin. This pin should be the pin for your FIDO2 key. So put that in. Okay, and it's going to flash, physically press the device, and now it's going to ask me where I want to save it at. By default, I'm just going to set it to this location. Just hit enter. Now it's going to ask for passphrase. So, with this type of solution here, we're not the key that we're not storing a any sort of sensitive information on the system itself. So you can get away with not setting a passphrase on here without any security ramifications. But if you wanted to add an additional, security layer on there, then you can add a passphrase. The key that gets generated and saved on the files or on the system itself is a key handle file. And all that is a file that tells the system to use the YubiKey for authenticating. It doesn't have any sensitive information in it itself. I don't know too much more about that. Do your own research, and that documentation I shared has some pretty good information on it. So I'll add a passphrase on here. Oh, and I can't type. All right, so now we have this saved. From there, what we want to do is we can store this file, they call it a reference handle, in the SSH agent. So what we can do is we will make sure the SSH agent is running. I'm just going to run this command right here. And we can see it is on this process ID. And then what we're going to do is going to add this to the agent. We're going to put in the passphrase. All right, and that's all we got to do for that. So for now, or from there, we got to get this file. We got to copy the key to the system we're trying to log into. So you can go. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can cat the public key. So that's going to be this right here, and you can copy this over the authorized keys file on the destination system. But you can, a better way to do that is going to be SSH. Was it add? Actually, right. Warlock, what's the command for sending SSH keys? SSH add? Oh no, add was this.
It was tab
Oh
computer.
no, sorry. SSH copy ID.
Yeah.
Copy ID. Yeah. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the key here. There's an option. Should be.
I think you have to have a -I after that SSH copy ID.
Oh yeah, probably smart of me to do that. Okay. And then what we're gonna do is you're gonna put in the destination information, which was what was that? Guy here. So this is the server we're going to, and then it's gonna ask about us connecting. Okay. All right. So what we did is we just copied that over. If we go over to the destination system, and we cat the SSH authorized keys files, you should see right here that this is what that command just did. It just copied it over to the destination. So now we should just be able to run an SSH, normal SSH over here, and hopefully this works. Actually, I did have issues with this. Yeah, this is actually a problem I ran into. Prepping for this, and I don't know exactly why I was getting this. I tried troubleshooting it, but I didn't have any luck. So I might have to owe you guys an answer to this. Because what's supposed to happen is you do the normal SSH, and it will then prompt you for the pen, and then you got to push the security key. But for some reason, I don't know why, it's been giving me a hard time. It gave me a hard time, and you can see here it's doing the same thing. So I don't want to try to troubleshoot this live, but I'm just looking through the docs real quick. If they mention anything about this. One thing they mentioned is, which is I don't think the case, but permissions is always a big thing. If we look at the let's see the SSH directory. Actually, we can do a ls. So I mean, this is probably fine. You
That
can,
looks reasonable to me.
yeah, you can do usually 600 on the files, and I don't think you need to do it with public key, to be honest, because it's a public key.
No,
And then
SSH won't give you trouble for the public key, but
Yeah,
it
it
will
won't.
for the private key, but you've got it set correctly. So
Yeah, and then let's see, SSH directory needs to be 700, which it is. So that's fine. So, yeah, this was one thing I could not figure out. So let me give you guys an IOU, and I will figure out what the heck's up with this, because this is the second time I ran into this. And I'll get back to you guys, let you guys know what's going on. Yeah,
could this maybe because of the same VM issue with it having trouble with the pass through?
I don't think so, because I tried this from my host to the VM yesterday, and I was running into the same thing. So I mean, you can just to rule out it being a SSH agent issue, we can try doing this. Let's see if this works. No, it's the same thing. Yeah. So I don't know why, and I don't know if it's something to do with the only key, or maybe it's something to. Yeah, I don't know. So let me get back to you guys on this one.
I feel like it might have something to do with it not knowing how to ask you for a PIN, but I don't know. I'm just speculating.
No, it's a good guess. I trying to look in the docs. I remember seeing something kind of about this. Let me check my version real quick. SSH v. Okay, 8.9 or newer. No, yeah, as long as we're on 8.9 or newer, which we are on 8.9, we should be good. Honestly, 8.3 or newer is technically what we should, that should be good enough. Yeah, so yep. So yeah, I'll get back to you guys on that. I'll throw this the solution to this in the meetup text channel. Once I figure out what's going on with this thing. It's the one thing that got me on this guy. But yeah, does anybody else have any other questions? I think that pretty much wraps up my talk.
Nice. A lot of information there. Thanks, Sean. I do want to
might-
go back to the first prezzo, and I'm going to post it in the text meetup so they have a visual as well. But I'm wondering, do I need to set up a drive to be Lux compatible?
Do you have Lux? When you installed it, did you enable the encrypted hard drive?
Maybe I needed to do that. I just didn't see it in
Yeah.
the docs.
Yeah, it's if I can actually show you guys. I'll give you guys real quick. So I'll just do it on here. For anyone that's not familiar with it. So let me just connect ISO. Yeah. And let me. See if this thing will boot up. We just gotta change the. Trying to figure out where I swear there's a boot option in here. I think if I have it set to connect on start, I think that should do it. Let's see if that does it. Good question. Yeah, you can enable Lux after the fact, but it is not pleasant. It's not very, I want to say not hard, but it's easy to mess up. Yeah, I don't know why this is not.
And if you
booting,
mess it
but
up, you just lose all of your data. Like it's
yeah,
you basically want to do a full off system backup and then reinstall, and it can be done. I've done it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's. I mean, yeah, I mean, as long as you have a backup, you'll be good. But yeah, there's at least several steps. So, and if you mess up on any of them, it might be hard to troubleshoot. I find the LVM like partitioning system very confusing. I'm sure it's not just me too, but it's yeah. So, but yeah, pretty much I can send if you look up Ubuntu, Ubuntu Lux on install, we can probably find a doc on how to do it. And it's just a little switch that you click when you're doing the install, and there's a little option that lets you choose to install. It's kind of hidden a little bit,
Oh,
but
But you're also going to like
oh, here it is.
you need to use that Lux installation option because adding it after the fact. So if you're trying to do this with your YubiKey, whatever, there probably won't be an option in the installer for it. But what you really want to do is just install a regular Lux and then just add this to your key slots for it like after the fact. But then you'll have to deal with the whole actually getting the FIDO2 drivers into your NetRAM fest, which is a whole other state of affairs.
All
Well,
right.
the steps I just shared out, which I don't know why this is not loading, but I did follow this pretty much exactly the same thing. And then with what we demoed earlier, you should be good.
Okay,
So,
cool. Yeah,
and
it
Yeah,
appears for
that's
me,
great.
so I'll take a peek at this. Thanks, Sean.
yeah. Any other questions? I know one guy brought up. Oh, sorry. What was that?
If you wanted to audit this and set up a script within Linux to see if someone's, I guess, protection against 0 days or someone trying to do squirrely stuff with this security key, could you set up like a tripwire thing or I don't know, I guess advice. I'm still a beginner. I'm learning about Linux and two, but how you might have a notification whether or not this module you were trying to log in using this method, and does that make sense?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you brought up Tripwire. Tripwire is a tool that you can use. There's another one called AIDE, which they're called like integrity file solutions, where you can like check to see if the file's been modified. You can also use Ansible if you want to get really fancy to see if things have drifted, and then making sure they can get reapplied. So yeah, there are a few different options out there. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I believe so. I guess like if you wanted to write stuff within the authentication mechanisms within Linux, but I'll do some research. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, as long as you have your permission set on the system, your sudoers settings, have it set up, your system set up for like least privilege access. Theoretically, nobody should be able to modify those settings as long as you have those things locked down. I know there are some third-party tools. I think you can even use like Wuzza for maybe detecting any of those modifications as well too. I know somebody mentioned
Thank you.
too in the on the Discord about setting up a duress password, which I thought was actually kind of a cool idea. Where if somebody forced you to unlock your system, you can put in a special password, and it would wipe your whole computer, or at least wipe the keys, which would probably be the best way to do it. I did look that up. It didn't look like there's a native way to do that, but I'm sure there's a way you could probably script it. So I'm super interested in that because I use that like on Graphene OS and other time. Anytime you have those options in like the only key and a couple of different other places like that. So I am definitely going to look into that, and I'll share what I find.
That's interesting.
Any other questions?
Apologize if it's a little bit windy. One of the things that I was looking at was like kind of the cheapest way that you can kind of DIY something like this yourself. That's FIDO2 compatible. I came across a project called, it was something, well, let me get the Pico FIDO, but basically it allows you to set up FIDO2 on a Raspberry Pi Pico, ESP32, which are both like relatively cheap. They're both pretty much like $5. You can find them at the right place.
Yeah, it's funny that you're breaking that up because actually that's I was using that actually. This is my Pico FIDO, but you can actually also do a Pico HSM is another option. But I did verify that the Pico FIDO does work with the setup that we are doing. Yeah, it's a cool project. I'd like to talk about that one in the future too. It's really cool. For those that aren't familiar with it, there's a project called Pico FIDO, Pico HSM. I don't know. I think it's called Pico Keys is actually the name of it. I'll share a link. And what it is forever whoever made it to DEF CON last year and got one of those pink or one of those badges that had like the little Game Boy installed. They had installed on them a little Raspberry Pi embedded systems chip on there. They call it the Pico, and it's a very pretty powerful chip that's really cheap. It's just honestly like it's like a few cents when they buy it in bulk. This is a board. I'll see if I can share it out on the screen here. But this is $10 on Amazon, and this is one of the Raspberry Pi Pico devices. They have different form factors. This is one that I have here. That's a USB A, and then I actually have this other one that's USB C. And there's a bunch of different things you can do with it, but that link to that FIDO or that Pico Keys website. This is the USB-C one. It's really small. You can upload open source FIDO2 software to it, or firmware to it, so you can turn one of these devices into like a YubiKey theoretically, and use it for FIDO2 authentication. The chip has a secure element built in, so it does. It's designed to resist tampering and removal of keys. And then there's also another project that's part of that project called Pico HSM, and it allows you to create a hardware security module system for storing like certificates and private keys. And it's got like a random hardware random number generator and stuff like that. So super cool. Yeah, have you had a chance to play around with that, Cyclops, at all?
I was just checking it out today because like a lot of this stuff has been coming up for me recently with the security, physical security key. So
Nice.
yeah, I was just looking into some of that pretty much today. But I will probably be doing it pretty soon, so I'll keep you guys posted on how it goes.
Cool. Yeah, let us know. And if you're interested in doing talk, let us know as well. I'll just do a quick shout out just because I like shameless plugs. But two of my favorite security keys out there are these open source semi-open hardware solutions. One's called the Only Key. That comes in a couple different form factors. I just shared a link in the Meetup Tech channel. But what it is it's a hardware security key that allows you to store up to 24 passwords on it. You can use it for FIDO. You can use it for smart card and PGP and SSH. So you use it for everything. There's that one, and then I don't know if that was the right website. Key.com. And the other one is I gave us the wrong link. Hold on. Yeah, I think it's this one. There's that one, and then the other one I recommend too for anybody that's interested in security keys is the Nitro Key. They have the Nitro Key 3 line. Those are another open. I think they're completely open hardware and open source, and they're the ones that do the Nitro, make the Nitro pads, Nitro keys. They have really small ones. Like this is my Nitro key. It's really, really small. And same thing, you store passwords on it, you can store FIDO keys on it. PGP, SSH, XYZ, ABC, all of these different types of things on there. So if you're looking for, and then also the Solo key is really popular. They're another open hardware, open source solution. So my personal advice, my personal take is I prefer open hardware, open source over closed hardware, closed source like YubiKeys are. But YubiKeys, not trashing YubiKeys, they are great. They've been audited multiple times, which most of these other tools, a lot of these other hardware devices haven't been. I know like Nitro keys have, but I don't think only keys have. So take that what you will, but yeah, there's a lot of cool options out there. You can also use passkeys on your phone too, which is another thing. But
The other thing that kind of came up in my brief research today is if any of you guys have like a